All right, so diving right in today, we're tackling Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know that book by Robert Kiyosaki?
Yeah.
The one that kind of shook up how everyone thinks about money?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to distill the core lessons so you can walk away with actionable insights and be ready to make your money work harder for you.
Yeah, it's not about penny pinching or playing the lottery or anything like that. It's really about understanding the financial game and adopting a whole new mindset.
Exactly. And, Kiyosaki, he contrasts the advice of his own father, the poor dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one who followed the traditional career path.
Right.
With his best friend's dad, the rich dad, who was like this entrepreneur with unconventional wisdom.
Yeah, and that contrast is really what lays the groundwork for some of these really eye-opening ideas.
Oh, for sure. Like the first big one, and it's almost become a mantra. The rich don't work for money.
Right.
Okay, so I get that you have to work sometime, but what's the deeper meaning here?
Well, think of it this way. There's two paths you can imagine, right? One is the rat race, where you work for a paycheck, you spend most of it on bills and lifestyle, and then you just work more to repeat the cycle.
Yeah.
So you're just constantly trading your time for money, always chasing that next paycheck.
Okay. I see. I think it's pretty tiring, like a hamster wheel.
Exactly. And now the other path is focused on building assets.
Okay.
Things that put money in your pocket even while you sleep.
Okay.
So think like real estate that generates rental income, a business that can run itself, investments that grow.
Right.
This is how the rich don't work for money. Their money works for them.
So instead of endless hours,
Yeah.
you're building a system that kind of creates wealth, even if you can step back a bit.
Exactly.
But isn't that only for people who already have a ton of money to invest?
Not necessarily. That's where Kiyosaki's emphasis on financial literacy comes in.
Okay.
It's not just about earning a lot. It's about knowing what to do with what you earn.
Okay, so I've heard some people say that the book can be a little simplistic about that, what are the key financial literacy skills that he actually dives into?
Well, Kiyosaki argues you must be able to read financial statements. Not like an accountant, but enough to understand the story behind the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the classic distinction between assets and liabilities.
Right.
Which can be tricky.
Yeah, I've heard that one can be confusing.
Yeah.
Isn't a house your biggest asset?
That's what many people think.
Right.
But if your house is draining your money every month with a huge mortgage, high property taxes, constant repairs,
Yeah.
is it truly putting money in your pocket?
Good point. So it's not just about owning things, it's about whether those things are helping or hurting your finances.
Exactly. A true asset generates income even passively.
Okay.
A liability takes money out of your pocket.
Right.
Understanding that difference can really revolutionize how you view everything from home ownership to investing.
Okay, so assets, good, liabilities, bad.
Got it.
Got it. But how do you actually start building these wealth-generating assets?
Right.
Kiyosaki talks a lot about minding your own business. Does that mean everyone needs to become an entrepreneur?
Not necessarily starting a company. No, it's more about being mindful of where your money goes and who benefits from your efforts.
So not just handing it all over to landlords and credit card companies, I guess.
Right. When you work for someone else, you're making them richer, of course.
Right.
But also the government, through your taxes and banks, through any loans you have.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki argues you need to build your own asset column to benefit from that same system.
So even if you have a job, you need to kind of think like an investor.
Exactly.
What could that look like for someone starting out?
It could be a side hustle.
Yeah.
Renting out a spare room, investing in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
The point is to generate income that's not directly tied to trading your hours for a paycheck.
That makes sense. Oh, okay, there's one more thing I have to ask. It's kind of controversial. Taxes.
Okay.
Kiyosaki claims that the rich pay less in taxes. Isn't that illegal?
Well, it's not about breaking the law.
Okay.
He emphasizes legal strategies. A key point is understanding how corporations can be used to your advantage.
Okay, that sounds a bit complicated for the average person. Can you break down the corporation thing a little more? Okay, that sounds a bit complicated for the average person. Can you break down the corporation thing a little more?
Sure. Imagine this. You're running a business as an individual. You pay taxes on all your income first. Then you can use what's left for expenses.
Right.
A corporation, on the other hand, deducts its expenses before paying taxes on its profits.
So they get to keep more of their earnings to reinvest and grow, right?
Exactly. Plus, corporations often benefit from lower tax rates compared to individual income tax. So it's not about cheating the system, it's about understanding the rules and using them strategically.
Right.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad really encourages readers to learn about these structures, not just blindly accept the way things are.
So it's about leveling the playing field, playing by the same rules as the wealthy. It all comes back to that financial literacy idea. But let's be honest, for a lot of people, just thinking about starting a business or investing can feel so overwhelming.
Absolutely. And that's why Kiyosaki dedicates a whole section to the idea of the rich inventing money.
Okay.
And it's not about some get-rich-quick scheme. It's a mindset shift.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Does this mean manifesting money with good vibes only?
Not quite. It's about training yourself to see opportunities where others see obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
The rich are often willing to take calculated risks. They're not afraid to leverage resources, and they're constantly learning and adapting.
Can you give me an example of how someone might invent money in the real world?
Imagine you come across a rundown property in a neighborhood that's about to boom. Others might see it as a headache.
Yeah.
But someone with a rich dad mindset sees potential.
Right.
They renovate, maybe using a loan
Okay.
that's leverage using other people's money, and then they rent it out or sell it for a profit.
Right.
They invented money by spotting an opportunity and taking action.
So it's about having that vision and being willing to put in the work, not just waiting for a lucky break.
Yes, and a key part of that is investing in your financial education. The more you learn about investing in real estate business, the more opportunities you'll see. It's about shifting your thinking from I can't afford it to how can I afford it?
So it's not just about money, it's about resourcefulness and problem solving.
Yeah.
Right. But even if you have the drive, what about the actual skills Kiyosaki talks about, needing specific skills beyond just the financial know-how?
He stresses the importance of sales and marketing, not just for selling products, but for selling yourself your ideas.
Right.
It's about persuasion, negotiation, communication.
That makes sense. Those are valuable skills no matter what you do in life.
Exactly. And of course, strong communication skills go hand in hand with that, being able to articulate your ideas, clearly build relationships, and negotiate effectively. These are assets in any field, and Kiyosaki would argue they're often overlooked in traditional education.
So it's not just about crunching numbers, it's about being well-rounded. But there's one thing I think that holds a lot of people back from taking those financial leaps.
Yeah.
Fear of failure, fear of risk, fear of the unknown. How does Rich Dad, Poor Dad address that very real emotion?
Well, it acknowledges that fear is natural, but emphasizes that the rich view failure differently. They see it as a learning opportunity, a stepping stone to success.
Instead of letting it paralyze you, you use it as fuel to learn and grow. I like that.
Right.
But how do you actually put that into practice? Is it just about thinking positive?
It's more about taking calculated risks, starting small, and learning from your mistakes. Don't go all in on a risky venture right away. Maybe test the waters with a side hustle, invest a small amount in the stock market, or take a course to learn a new skill.
So baby steps, but consistent action, building that confidence over time.
Exactly. The more you act, the more you learn, the less fear will hold you back. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is ultimately about empowering readers to take control of their finances and create their own path to wealth.
And it seems like a big part of that is shifting your mindset, seeing opportunities where others see limitations, being comfortable with risk and failure as part of the process. This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. I feel like I'm looking at the world of money in a whole new light.
That's great to hear. And as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think it's important to remember that financial success isn't a one-size-fits-all formula.
It's about taking the core principles and applying them to your own unique situation, right?
Exactly. It's about building your own personalized path to financial freedom.
It's about taking the core principles and applying them to your own unique situation, right?
Exactly. It's about building your own personalized path to financial freedom. You know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it isn't a step-by-step guide. It's more like a mental toolbox.
Right.
You have to figure out which tools work best for you, your goals, your risk tolerance.
That's a great analogy. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key things you hope listeners will walk away thinking about?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is this. Your financial future isn't predetermined.
Okay.
It's not about how much you earn. It's about what you do with your money and how you think about wealth building.
It's about taking control, being proactive, understanding the rules of the game instead of just blindly playing along.
Precisely. And remember, even small changes can have a huge impact over time.
Right.
Start by examining your own beliefs about money. Are you stuck in the rat race mentality, or are you building assets that work for you?
That's a great question for some self-reflection. And if someone realizes they're not quite where they want to be financially, where would you suggest they start?
Well, Kiyosaki would probably say pick one Rich Dad principle that resonates with you
Okay.
and commit to taking action. Maybe it's reading those financial statements you've been avoiding. Maybe it's exploring a side hustle, or maybe it's finally taking that investing course you've been thinking about.
So concrete steps, even small ones, are better than just dreaming about financial freedom.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way. Every misstep is a learning opportunity. That's how you build that rich dad mindset.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I think we've gone beyond just summarizing the book and really gotten to the heart of its message.
I agree. It's about empowering people to become financially literate, to think differently about money, and to take control of their future.
It's been a pleasure diving deep into Rich Dad, Poor Dad with you. For our listeners, remember, financial freedom isn't a pipe dream. It's a possibility. Start learning, start taking action, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next Rich Dad success story. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those wallets growing.